Welcome to Brave Healer Productions. It's time to experience what's possible. Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we are helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing authors of one of our newest books. This one is called Healthy for Life: Foundational Skills for Parents, Teachers, Mentors, and the Kids They Love. So before I introduce these amazing people to you today, I just need to give a huge shout out to our lead author, Dr. Ilana Zablosky Amir. Ilana, thank you so much for the mission that you had in bringing these health and wellness experts together. You are giving the world an amazing toolkit. Not only are these authors' stories just beyond, they're real, they're vulnerable, you're going to hear their why, you guys, today and in the book. But then they're going to step up as the master teachers they are and give you a practical tool. So y'all are badasses. And Ilana, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you so much for what you do in the world and for getting these authors together. So let me introduce these two to you. Emily Givler is a functional genomic nutrition consultant. I hope I said that right, Emily, who uses diet, lifestyle changes, and genomic analysis to help her clients achieve optimal wellness. Is that genomic, Emily? Am I saying it right?
Mm-hmm.
Genomic?
Close enough.
We might have to ask you about that in a minute.
Sure.
All right. Dr. Boba Benko is a fitness forward physio that gets folks moving better in 30 minutes to get out of pain in the next 30 days to thrive for the next 30 years. Welcome, you guys. How's it going?
So good to be here. Thank you so much for having us, Laura.
It's really an honor to be here.
I am excited to talk to you both. You're the first interview in this really powerful series. And this is going to change some lives. Emily, start the party off. Tell us a little bit about your chapter. Give me a little bit of the why behind it.
Sure. So I wrote chapter 13, which is called Toxic Overwhelm: Practical Strategies to Reduce the Harm. And this is something that is very near and dear to me. And unfortunately, whether or not we realize it, it is near, but not necessarily dear to all of us, because we're living in kind of a toxic soup of a planet right now. The air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the paint on our walls, the carpet on our floors, the chair that I'm sitting on, just about every personal care product that I want to put on my body. Everywhere I go, everything that I do, it's a constant stream of toxic insult to my system. And the algorithms all being what they are, every news story that comes across my feed is more and more the dangers of PFAS, pesticides, microplastics being found in every tissue. And then we can draw these connections to all of these really serious health implications because of this. And that is enough to knock even this professional off kilter. It is so truly, truly overwhelming, and it can be enough to stop people in their tracks and keep them from doing even basic things to avoid the harm, because it does feel so all-encompassing and overwhelming. And I don't think that we should let fear be in the driver's seat. So the why behind my chapter is to try to empower people with the knowledge of what these toxins are, and most importantly, what we can do about it without falling to pieces and feeling completely overwhelmed and unable to start.
So if you were going to give somebody today who's listening the very first step of a start in their own home, which one thing would you pick, do you think?
Oh, that one is easy for me. Water filtration. The best that you can afford, because we're not all going to be in the same place. And even something like a reverse or a, I'm sorry, a like an activated charcoal pitcher probably not enough for everyone, but it's a start and it's an affordable start. If you can get a better system, then if you can afford to, then you should do that. But an overwhelming number of toxins come into our systems from the water that we're drinking. And whether that's heavy metals or pesticides or microplastic contamination is huge in water. Things like forever chemicals, PFAS, are hugely found in a lot of our tap water. And we have really effective systems to filter that out. So if there's only one thing that you can do, get a good water filter for your home. And we can go to the Environmental Working Group's tap water database. It's an amazing free resource for people, and you can find it at ewg.org. You can search in the United States for your municipal tap water and find out what contaminants are in it. And then, and this is my favorite part of that site, it'll actually tell you what type of filter you need to get those contaminants out. So this is a step that just about anybody can take. If you're on a budget, you can implement it for under $30, and you can massively reduce that toxic burden on your family. So easy step that anybody can take.
I love that first step, obviously, where, we need the water really primarily to survive either way. But this is really great timing too. My son came to me the other day and he held up this pitcher of water, which was sort of half white. And he's like, Mom, what the heck? And I'm like, right. And so Emily has now given me the answer to trying to take a step on that. We have filters and things, but it would be great to go to that site and just see if anything's going on that we need to know about and all that
Well,
stuff.
and in your son's case, if we have visible contaminants in our water, then it's easy to go, oh my gosh, we should do something about this. But if you have PFAS in your water, if you look at that pitcher of water, you're not going to see that. If there's nanoplastics in your water, and it's worth noting, there is almost always, whether it's tap water or bottled water, if you have not filtered it appropriately, there are microplastics and nanoplastics in your water. They are smaller than we can see with the naked eye. So it's not only that cloudy water that we want to be concerned about. Even if it looks clear to your eye, there's still likely some level of contaminants. So run it through some type of filtration system.
Emily, thank you for saying yes to this project and for being here today.
Absolutely. It's been such an honor to be a part of this.
All right, Bo, let's hear your why behind your chapter.
Yeah, again, thanks for having us here. And I'm chapter 22, Bo Babenko here. And the title is Be the MVP of Your MVS Movement Vital Signs, How They Will Save Your Life. And the why is really something that's a lifelong passion project. I've actually wanted to write my own book on this whole concept. We're not born with the user's guide to the human body. We're getting the user's guide to cars, to even there's a lot of talk about parenting. We get all these parenting books. We certainly have an overwhelm of information. But when it comes to the body, there's just so much confusion. So I actually have two different podcasts on my own. One of them is the Demand Better podcast, saying, hey, we need to demand better. We need to clarify this. We want to be the user's guide to the consumer for health and fitness and wellness. So it's a lot of confusion out there. So my goal was really to try to simplify that. I find that I do that. And you like myself are a former physical therapist, or we have that background training. So I find in the physical therapy space, we really have to, deal with symptoms, that kind of medicine 2.0 for anyone familiar with that, where we're trying to just get them in and out. There's the insurance kind of burnout piece of that. And ultimately it's saying, hey, we need you to be a better, longer, healthier, fitter, longevity, all this good stuff. We're trying to get you fitter for the long haul. And more importantly, we're trying to make sure you pass that on, as the subtitle of our book here is, to make sure you're also improving that, being the role model, but also passing that on to the next generation. Because as we've talked about in some of our author calls, this last generation, Generation Z, is the first generation in history that has a shorter life expectancy than the previous generation. That's never happened in human history. We've all been evolving and growing, and this is the first time we're seeing a little dip in that, and it's a little scary. So the goal here is to give folks simple things they can do as soon as they read that chapter to implement into their lives. And I talked with Dr. Alana on my podcast, and she pulled out her hand dynamometer. That's one of the pieces, spoiler alert for my chapter, but one of the easy things you can do is get a hand dynamometer, check your grip strength. It's a really good metric every day for the rest of your life if you want to kind of see how your health is progressing or regressing if you're willing to face that harsh truth.
Wow, that's quite a statistic too. I was, I don't know, like mildly shocked to hear that. Think a lot about my kids, And of course, when we know better, we do better. And there's so much information out there. That's why you guys are so awesome to kind of condense it into, hey, this is what I want you to know is important right now. Pay attention. In terms of my movement vital signs, Bo, like, okay, grip strength. But what about that full squat? I love that full squat. Is it too advanced to test myself with that?
No, not at all. It's like running a marathon is also a huge thing when we look at it. If you're someone who just doesn't run, it seems overwhelming. If you're someone who doesn't squat, and trust me, in my work, I ask people, can you do this squat or show me your squat? Absolutely. It's one of my most functional, most important patterns that we look at, including, getting up and down off the ground. You kind of have to go through some version of a squat there too. But a squat, we always kind of call it the third world squat, the Chinese squat, the Asian squat. Some people have different names for it. But those countries where folks have that as part of their culture, and anyone familiar with the blue zones, another excellent kind of resource out there for longevity and health, they're looking at these different cultures and saying, what factors can we see across cultures that are improving longevity, some version of longevity, and not just longevity, but also the quality of life. And that's a big piece of it, the vitality of life. And so that full depth squat tends to go through a full range of motion. One of my number one things I try to get people to understand when I work with them is go through this full range of motion, stop only sitting at 90 degrees. There's actual doctors, orthopedic surgeons, not to call out, again, the medical industry or our friends, the orthopedic surgeons, but they say don't go squat past 90 degrees because it hurts you when you do that, instead of teaching them how to do that, which sometimes the system is just not set up for that. So the squat is absolutely one of the best ways to do that. So yes, in these Asian squats, these cultures that do that, there's almost no arthritis in their hips, knees, ankles. There's certainly other factors involved when we look at an entire population, but it's really one of the most phenomenal tests. And one of my best role models, Dr. Kelly Starrett out there, he has another couple of great resources. The Ready State is his brand. With his wife, they're a phenomenal team, pushing the bounds of fitness. I'd say they're at the forefront, where I'm trying to catch up to those guys. But the very first video he ever made, he made a year's worth of videos back around 2010. His very first video was, can you sit in a squat for 10 minutes? And it's a scary thing. If you haven't been down there at all, and most people struggle to get down there, but can you do that for 10 minutes? I'm actually sitting, if you guys can see this, I'm kind of down here on the floor. My camera can kind of do that, but yeah, I'm kind of popping in a squat here. I do that as often as I can through the day. And it's kind of thing where, again, we've heard it for a long time. If you don't use it, you'll lose it. And so if we're not using those ranges of motion, we're losing it. So yes, absolutely. The squat is one of those easiest things we can test, and one of the most transferable as well.
Bo, thank you also for saying yes to this project and for being here today. I'm going to stick with you for a minute for this next question. When it comes to health and wellness, all of our projects have a holistic foundation. Why is this important? Holistic. Why holistic, especially for our kids?
Yeah, movement is something we have to do. And again, we reference kind of the blue zones. The more we move, we see benefits to even detoxifying, to Emily's topic, right? And the more, I've already interviewed 8 of our co-authors here on my podcast, and you start to see these connecting webs. We have Laurel, who talked about quantum biophysics, which holy wow, it got crazy. But you guys should go check that episode out. But yeah, the movement piece, especially to our kids, again, the healthier we are, right? It's the easiest thing we can do every single day. And then there's all these bonds. There's the connection. When I talk about, I know we have pillars in our book here set up, but in my practice, I talk about a similar 5 pillars. There's 3 kind of physical ones. There's how do we move, and those outputs that we can do, whether we're testing how fast we run, how good we can squat. There's the inputs we can kind of do, what we're putting into our body, nutrition, where we have a few of those authors talking about that. There's the recovery piece. So we're talking about sleep, all that kind of good stuff. So all these kind of work together. And then we have that mindset and connection. And again, the big thing I've talked about with connection, not to skip over mindset by any means, but connection is where with our families, I have a 2-year-old, I have a toddler. So anytime I'm in the garage, I'm working out, he comes in, I'm on the rowing machine, I get off, he gets on there and he starts pulling. We do sled pulls with my wife. He wants to sit in the sled. It's just building that connection. As he gets older, I'm hoping to work out with him. And as I kind of joke, oftentimes with any of my patients, I'm saying, or they ask me why I'm staying fit right now. I say, I want to be able to beat him in basketball 15, 20 years from now. I just turned 41. My goal is, it's some people say I'm not going to be able to play basketball when I'm 50 or 55, but that's my goal, is to look ahead and make sure that I personally can accomplish these things, but B, pass this on to the next generation and anyone who gets to get their hands on this book.
I love it, Bo. Thank you for that. All right, Emily, I want to give you a chance to add to this. Why holistic? When thinking about people listening in, and that term gets used a lot, doesn't it? Like holistic this, holistic that. But why is that important?
I think that excellent question. And for me, it comes down to looking at the whole system, in part because when we're dealing, especially with complex health challenges, it's rarely just one thing. There's not one aspect of our life or our physiology that's off kilter. We are made up of numerous systems. And so with my work in functional genomics, we look at the whole pathway. And when there's changes in one place, sometimes there's compensatory changes in something else. We have to look at the whole system. We can't look at just the toxic burden on the body and separate that out from the movement, the diet. These things are all connected in ourselves. And when we are able to step back and look at our systems, our lives more holistically, then we can find those places where we can make meaningful changes and influence other arenas. And it allows us to not nitpick tiny little details. It kind of gives us the opportunity to see the forest and not just the individual trees. And when we do that, we're able to step forward into more radiant health, more vibrant health for ourselves and for the people that we love, for our partners, for our children, for our community. So when we think about holistic health, we are thinking about more than just the individual minutia. We're looking kind of system-wide. So super important. And it really is what allows us to step from that kind of Western medical model of acute treatment care, like, hey, I fell and now my bone is sticking out of my arm. Okay, well, that's not a holistic system-wide problem. But if I go to my doctor and I say, I've been feeling just not myself. I've been tired. I've not been sleeping as well. I feel like my body's just not in the place that it used to be. I'm not happy with my weight. I'm not happy with my digestion. If I look holistically at my health, if I look at my lifestyle, my diet, my sleep hygiene, my movement, I'm going to find more comprehensive and supportive answers than, oh, just take this pill for sleep. Oh, just take this pill for weight. Oh, just take this pill for mood. I'm going to address those underlying pieces by taking that holistic view.
Yes, thank you. I love listening to you guys talk about this. I hope you all are getting these golden nuggets of awareness that Bo and Emily are dropping today. Emily, I want to ask you a question about, you started by talking about the overwhelm. So this is perfect to kind of go there, but this whole world of wellness is totally overwhelming when you're starting on the path and you're trying to find answers, searching for solutions to sometimes pretty serious things that are messing with your life. What's your best tip for understanding and vetting information and practitioners? How can we best choose our professionals, really for us, but also for our kids? One best tip. I know there's like 1,000 hours worth of explanations here, but
Well, and I'm not sure that I have one best tip because we're in different communities. And so finding the person who's right for you is not always a linear path. With the work that I do, I'm often people's 5th or 10th or 30th step because they've been seeking so many answers. So we should start with the simple. We want to make sure we have a good relationship with our primary care providers because they're going to be our boots on the ground person that we can talk to. And this may seem strange from someone in the holistic space to say, hey, make sure you've got a good family doctor that you like. But there's so many people who miss just that basic point. Beyond that, as we're moving into this holistic space and looking for more targeted answers, we want to think about what are the steps that we have already taken ourselves. Have we cleaned up our diet? Have we cleaned up our environment? Have we rolled out like the low-hanging fruit? And there's a lot of solid information out there, but there's a lot of basic steps that we can take with cleaning up digestion and the diet. When you have gone beyond that, you want to listen to people in your community who have dealt with similar things and gotten relief, because our communities are going to be really fantastic resources for vetting those unknown people. So I feel very fortunate that most of my clients find me through a referral network because I've built a relationship with them and they want to share the health that they have found with the people that they love. So using your community to vet some of these resources is, I think, a really important answer. And I think thinking holistically, for me, so much of that comes back to that level of community support and building those relationships with the people around us, whether it's with our family care provider or a practitioner that we see virtually from across the country or across the world. We want someone that we can talk to. With a holistic health practitioner, you really want someone who is going to be able to run appropriate tests and interpret them appropriately. So don't be afraid to set up a discovery call with someone. Talk to them. Find out, is this someone who resonates with you, whose message and approach is something that fits with your lifestyle, with your ideology? Because if you are at odds with your practitioner, it's going to be really hard to get help and to be well. So I start all of my visits by talking to people about what their goals are for their health so that I can make sure that I am working in alignment with them, because I may have my own goals. I may have my own thing that I think is important, but I'm here for my clients. And so you want to make sure you can find someone who is really going to work with you, that you can communicate with in an open and appropriate way, who is going to be in line with your goals to carry you into that wellness that you're seeking. So not one clear tip, but that's my
that was
general
like
guide.
100 tips, you guys. So I hope you were listening. That was awesome. Like, so many important things there. I want to add to Emily's, and then I'm going to hear Bo's additional, especially for like physical therapists, which as he mentioned, was my 30-year career. But also don't be afraid to fire your practitioners if it's not working out. And we'll just leave that there for now because, right, you guys, we're starting so many juicy conversations today that we could talk about for hours and hours. Bo, I know you got 2 cents on this. If you were going to help people think about that one best question that helps them vet their practitioners, what is that for you?
A lot of times folks ask, I do get this question a lot actually, of like, hey, I'm in Atlanta, like who, and I hurt my hip, what should I do? I think, if you have a specific injury, you want to find someone who specializes in that. At this point, it's from an orthopedic standpoint, if you have a hip injury, don't go to a generalist. You need someone who understands the hip. And then the other thing I say, especially for a lot of the folks I deal with, I'm in more of that fitness space. If they don't have a squat rack in the physical therapy clinic, then that might just be a no. There's definitely clinicians who just use their hands and things like that and might not have a lot of equipment or what. There's all sorts of variables there. But, I see a lot of folks out of my home office here, and I have a full gym in my garage. So that's the easy question. I'll try to keep it there of connecting to a specialist in that specific orthopedic injury. And that's also very true for surgery, by the way. One of the more common injuries, ACL, and this might, you remember this, Laura, probably from your physical therapy days. ACL, very common injury. What's the best predictor of choosing a surgeon for that is how many of those do they do a year? If the surgeon only does 2 or 3 of those a year and they just like are able to do it and they do that, that's great, but probably not who you want. You want someone, in that specific situation who probably does, 15 of those a week. So you can certainly ask those numbers. And I think a lot of people as consumers are afraid to, challenge, especially the authority of the white coat and the doctor and things like that. And so it's not really challenging them. You're just gathering information, and it's okay. I think that you'll probably hear from, I assume, all 25 of the authors of this book. You got to advocate for yourself. That's one of the reasons we're writing this book. And so, if you know certain things that are valuable to you, if you want to be a runner, find a running specialist, someone who doesn't understand running. Or CrossFit is another big one that I've been in that space. I've definitely heard people come to me as the 5th, 10th practitioner, kind of like Emily alluded to, and they were like, yeah, this other physical therapist was like, I don't really understand why you guys do kipping pull-ups. And it's like, instead of questioning that culture or having a conversation about it, there's definitely judgments that get thrown around, and that's all just human nature. And so, yeah, find the practitioner that's right for you. So I like you said, I have a little more than 2 cents on this one, but yeah, I do have a few episodes as well in my Demand Better podcast where we talk about finding a personal trainer. It's the very first episode we actually ever did in the fitness industry, and we go through a whole list of things to look for with personal trainers. As a little quick aside, is if there's not an assessment getting done on that first day and they're just putting you through their cookie cutter thing, is most likely what's happening. How are we supposed to take Emily through her fitness journey without I think a lot of personal trainers will ask what the goals are, but if they're not doing an assessment head to toe, like what's going on with your, shoulders, what's going on with your range of motion, what's going on with your strength, then you're probably not getting the attention you need. And unfortunately, that's all too common in the fitness industry, especially.
Yeah, great tips. Great tips. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap it up with this big question. Good luck on this, because I need like your one answer. But Bo, what do you think is the most important thing you want the listeners today to know about staying healthy for life?
Identity would be the simple answer. You need to change, from being like, I'm just someone who goes out drinking and partying to staying healthy for life. You need to say, there's the meme goes around. And again, I have a toddler, a 2-year-old, so I'm a relatively new parent, but there's the little meme going around that's like, you would die for your kids, but would you get fit for them? And would you get healthy for them? And again, I put the little voice on it. It's a little bit of, it's silliness, but at the same time, if you can change your identity, I have found that working with clients, been in this space for over 2 decades. I'm in my 3rd decade of being in this health wellness space, working with humans. And the number one thing where people actually accomplish their goals and stick to their goals for a long term, and as you read my bio in the beginning, that's why I focus on that 30-year picture. It's right in my intro, is I can get you moving in 30 minutes. A lot of people can. There's a lot of little magic tricks we can do. I can kind of, do a little tap on your shoulder and, oh, look at that, you got 10 more degrees. Fantastic. But then we got to put a plan to hone that in for the next 30 days. And then that needs to hopefully transfer to the next 30 years. So that identity of saying, I am somebody who wakes up an hour earlier, or I am somebody who goes to sleep an hour earlier, that becomes part of your identity. So I'm going to try to cut off myself there because I can keep going. But identity is one of the things that people don't seem to get when they set goals. I just did a podcast with a local Erie Wellness here in Colorado. And that was one of the things we were talking about, New Year's goals and resolutions and all that good stuff. And I said, yeah, it's got to be about the process. And you have to not just say, I'm going to really try really hard, because that tends to fail. Motivation leaves us very quickly. It's making yourself that identity of, I am not just a healthy person, I am a good mother, father, whatever it is. And so make this your identity to be healthy for life. That's why we wrote the book. And hopefully we're giving you a lot more tools to feel more confident in that identity.
Love it. I love that answer. All right, Emily, give me your version here. What's the most important thing you want people to know about staying healthy for life?
I think that it is not just one thing. It is a lifelong journey. If we're going to be healthy for life, very similar to what Bo was saying, we have to make this a journey for life. We have to set that intention not just for today, not just for this month, not just for this year, but to be healthy for life. We have to recognize that there are a lot of aspects to this. You asked about the importance of holistic health. Well, it's to get us to that goal. So we need to make the commitment that this is the path that we are on. We are on a journey to be healthy for the rest of our lives. Hopefully, that's going to be a long and vibrant lifetime, but there are going to be a lot of steps on this path. And we're going to make missteps. We're going to step out of line. We're going to be hit by things that we never saw coming. But if we know that this is our path and this is our journey, we're going to step right back onto it. If we haven't committed to this being a lifelong process, if we think I'm going to do this one thing and then everything's going to be fine, when things come along that derail us, we're going to really struggle to get back on that track. But if we have adopted this, as Bo said, as our identity, if we've set this intention that this is a journey that we are on and not just an endpoint destination, then we're going to continue to get back on track, even when things come by and try to derail us.
Yeah, really, really important to, oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys are awesome. These points are so important. This awareness is everything. With this kind of awareness, you guys have a choice to stay healthy for life or not, right? Boba Banco and Emily Givler, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much for having us, Laura.
Yeah, thanks again, and looking forward to further collaboration.
All right, y'all, go to Amazon, grab the book, Healthy for Life. You are going to have a team of dedicated experts. And this is way more than a book. Maybe something one of these experts said today is just giving you the goosebumps, or you're having a light bulb or whatever. Drop down to the show notes because I have them hooked up with their links and they're ready for you to reach out, ask a question, get some support for your journey. All right. So please do that. Please go explore their sites and see all the amazing things that they are up to. And like I said, we would love it if you hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this amazing book today. Lastly, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.